The icy winds of Calvara Prime sliced through the abandoned sectors like frozen daggers. Marcus Kane adjusted his weathered coat, feeling the familiar pressure of his protective gear underneath. Since Director Voss had taken control, the alien metropolis had deteriorated into a shadow of its former glory. Resources were allegedly running short. Though Marcus knew better, he'd witnessed the overflowing storage facilities in the industrial quarter during his construction assignments. "Still playing the hero, Offwalder?" shouted Briggs, a local trader who'd grown fond of Marcus over recent months. Marcus managed a weary grin. "Just doing what I can to get by." "Right. That's why you've been secretly delivering food to the orphan shelter." Briggs responded with a knowing expression, his amber eyes gleaming. "Your secret's protected, but watch yourself. Voss's security forces are tightening their grip." Marcus acknowledged with a brief nod and continued his path. The sealed container of nutrient broth, his entire daily allocation, rested safely in his pack. His stomach protested loudly, but he pushed the sensation aside. 2 decades of manual labor across multiple star systems had conditioned him to endure deprivation. Entering the area locals dubbed the Void a forgotten district housing the city's orphaned youth, he discovered them. 6 small Calvarian children clustered together against the brutal cold, their azure skin appearing almost translucent, their inadequate clothing offering little protection from the elements. "Greetings," Marcus called gently, approaching with deliberate movements. The children gazed upward, their enormous eyes, displaying various shades of emerald and sapphire, expanding with recognition. "The Terran," whispered one of the younger ones, a boy called Zek. Marcus crouched down, his large frame still nearly matching the height of the standing children. He retrieved the container, watching steam rise in the frigid air as he unsealed it. "Figured you might be hungry," he offered, extending the bowl. The children stared at the sustenance, then at him, uncertainty evident in their expressions. "But that's your final meal, sir," stated Vera, the eldest at approximately 8 standard years. Marcus smiled, creating gentle creases around his eyes. "You need it more than I do. I'll find a way." What he didn't mention was that this marked his 3rd consecutive day of sharing his rations. The hollow sensation in his abdomen had become a constant presence. But witnessing these youngsters, regardless of their species, suffering from hunger was intolerable. While the children carefully divided the broth, Marcus sensed observation. Turning slightly, he glimpsed a graceful Calvarian female watching from the shadows of a nearby structure. Unlike the drab garments most residents wore, her simple attire possessed an understated elegance, and her silver hair, a symbol of elevated status among Calvarians, flowed down her shoulders. Their gazes connected, and briefly Marcus experienced something passing between them, perhaps recognition or comprehension. Then she vanished, disappearing into the maze-like passages of the void. "Thank you, Mr. Marcus," Vera said, redirecting his attention. "Could you share another tale about Terra?" Marcus settled back on his heels. "Well, let's see. Have I described the great waters yet?" The children shook their heads, eyes bright with anticipation as they finished the remaining broth. "Terra has these enormous bodies of liquid, larger than you could possibly imagine. They stretch so far that when you stand at the edge, you cannot see the opposite shore." As he spoke, creating vivid images of rolling waves and golden beaches, Marcus remained unaware that the silver-haired Calvarian woman had returned. Listening from a distance, her brilliant blue eyes focused on him with increasing fascination. Later, as twilight descended and temperatures plummeted further, Marcus ensured the children returned to the community refuge before heading to his cramped quarters in the worker district. The journey felt extended today, his energy diminished from lack of sustenance. Terran, A melodious voice called from behind him. Marcus turned to find the silver-haired Calvarian woman standing several paces away, her breath creating small clouds in the cold atmosphere. "My name is Lyrian," she said, her accent making the human name sound almost lyrical. "I believe we must speak. Voss's security forces have been monitoring your activities," Lyrian whispered, her voice barely audible as she nervously scanned the frost-covered street. "That demonstration of compassion earlier, it has been observed. Not only by me." Marcus straightened, instinctively surveying their surroundings. "I'm not violating any regulations." "No, but you're undermining their narrative." Lyrian moved closer, and Marcus detected the subtle scent of something resembling vanilla. "Director Voss claims resources are scarce, that we must all make sacrifices. Then you, an outsider, surrender your own sustenance for our children. It causes people to question." A patrol vehicle hummed in the distance, its search beams sweeping across building surfaces. "Come with me," Lyrian urged, her slender blue fingers encircling his wrist. Immediately, despite his exhaustion and hunger, Marcus followed her through a labyrinth of narrow pathways. The contrast between them was remarkable, her fluid movements against his powerful stride, her smooth azure skin against his weathered features. "Where are we going?" he inquired as they ducked beneath a low archway. "Somewhere secure," she replied, leading him to what appeared to be a dead end. She pressed her palm against a seemingly solid wall, and a section slid open silently. Inside was a modest but well-illuminated chamber that descended into a tunnel. As they moved deeper underground, the tunnel opened into an enormous cavern that had been converted into living quarters. Dozens of Calvarians moved about, some carrying supplies, others gathered in discussion. Children played in one corner, their laughter echoing off the stone walls. "Welcome to the haven," Lyrian said, her blue eyes observing his reaction carefully. Marcus absorbed it all, amazed. "How long has this existed?" "Since Voss seized power 3 cycles ago. We represent what remains of the resistance." She guided him toward a small cooking area where an elderly Calvarian was stirring a large pot. "This is Marcus Dane," she said. "He's the human I mentioned." Dane looked up, his deeply lined face breaking into a smile. "Ah, the nourishment giver. You must be starving, young man." Before Marcus could object, a bowl of thick stew was placed in his hands. The aroma made his stomach respond audibly. "Eat," Lyrian insisted. "We have sufficient to share." As Marcus consumed the meal, Lyrian explained how a group of Calvarians had established this underground network after Voss's policies began causing widespread suffering. "We've been observing you for some time," she admitted. "Few outsiders demonstrate such compassion for our people." Marcus felt her gaze lingering on him, a warmth in it that transcended mere gratitude. He found himself noticing details about her he hadn't before: the elegant curve of her neck, the way her silver hair seemed to capture and reflect the cavern's illumination. "Your people have been kind to me," he said simply. "I'm merely reciprocating." "There's more to it than that," Lyrian countered, leaning closer. "I've seen how you regard our world, Marcus. With respect, with wonder. Not like the other off-worlders who view us as primitives." Their eyes met, and something electric passed between them. Marcus felt his pulse accelerate. "You should rest," she said, her voice softer now. "I'll show you where you can sleep." The small chamber she led him to was sparse but comfortable, with a sleeping mat and a basin of water. "Thank you," Marcus said, suddenly aware of how close they were standing in the confined space. "For everything." Lyrian didn't step away. "Why did you truly come to Calvara, Marcus?" "The truth. I was escaping something," he admitted. "A past I wasn't proud of. Thought I'd find anonymity on a frontier world. And instead you found us. Her hand reached up, hesitantly, touching his face, tracing the line of his jaw with curious fingers. Your skin feels different than ours. Warmer. Marcus caught her hand in a bold move that surprised even him. Humans run hot. A smile played at the corners of her mouth. So I've heard. The tension between them was palpable, a magnetic pull neither seemed willing to resist. When Lyrian leaned forward, Marcus met her halfway, their lips connecting in a tentative kiss that quickly deepened with unexpected intensity. Later, as they lay together on the sleeping mat, the dim light casting blue shadows across their intertwined forms, Marcus felt a peace he hadn't known in years. Your people have strange customs, Lyrian murmured against his chest, her fingers tracing patterns on his skin. Marcus chuckled. I could say the same about yours. Yet here we are, she said, looking up at him with those vivid blue eyes. Finding common ground. Is that what we're calling it? He teased, earning a playful swat. Their moment of tranquility was shattered by sudden commotion outside the chamber. Lyrian sat up, instantly alert. Something's wrong, she said quickly, gathering her clothes. Marcus was already on his feet, pulling on his protective vest. What is it? Before she could answer, the chamber door burst open. A young Calvarian male stood there, panic evident in his expression. Enforcers, he gasped. They found the north entrance. They're coming. They must have followed me, Marcus said, the realization hitting him like a physical blow. I led them directly to you. Lyrian's eyes widened, but she shook her head firmly. You don't know that. It's too much of a coincidence, he insisted, grabbing his jacket. The sounds of panic were growing outside their chamber, hurried footsteps, urgent whispers, children crying. These people are in danger because of me. Dane burst into the room, his weathered face grim. They're sealing the north tunnels. We have perhaps 10 minutes before they reach the main cavern. Marcus made a quick decision. I'll surrender myself. Draw them away from here. Absolutely not. Lyrian grabbed his arm, her grip surprisingly strong. They'll execute you as an example. Better me than all of you, Marcus countered, the weight of responsibility heavy on his shoulders. He cupped Lyrian's face with one hand. Last night meant something to me. I won't let these people suffer because I was careless. Dane cleared his throat. There might be another way. A distraction, not a sacrifice. Both turned to the elderly Calvarian. The old maintenance tunnels, Dane continued. They connect to the city's water filtration system. If we could trigger an emergency protocol, it would draw the enforcers away, Lyrian finished, her eyes lighting up. But someone would need to access the control panel in the northern sector. I'll go, Marcus volunteered immediately. Not alone, Lyrian insisted. I know the access codes. Dane nodded. I'll organize the evacuation to our secondary location. You two buy us time. As they hurried through the winding tunnels, Marcus couldn't help but admire how Lyrian had taken charge, directing people with calm authority. Despite the chaos, the connection between them had deepened beyond physical attraction. He saw in her a leader, someone who put her people first, just as he tried to do. You're staring, she said without looking back. Just appreciating the view, he replied with a half-dashed smile. Despite the danger, she flashed him a quick grin over her shoulder. Save it for when we're not running for our lives, human. They reached a narrow maintenance shaft that angled sharply upward. This leads to a service corridor near the water facility, Lyrian explained, inputting a code on a rusted panel. A ladder extended from the wall. It's going to be tight. The climb was arduous, especially for Marcus's broader frame. By the time they reached the top, Both were breathing heavily. "You know," he whispered as they paused to catch their breath, "on Terra, this would count as a second date." Lyrian's brow furrowed in confusion. "Date? A romantic encounter," he clarified, "usually. Less life-threatening." She made a sound that might have been a suppressed laugh. "Your species has strange courtship rituals," says the woman whose people apparently bond through shared resistance activities. "It's efficient," she countered, her eyes twinkling despite. "Their predicament tests compatibility under pressure. And how am I doing so far?" Marcus asked, suddenly serious. Lyrian's expression softened. "Better than any male I've known, human or Calvarian." The moment was interrupted by the distant sound of enforcer boots. They pressed forward through the service corridor, eventually reaching a control room filled with blinking panels and humming machinery. Lyrian moved quickly to the main console. "This controls the city's water pressure. If we trigger a critical warning in the northern sector, it'll look like the system is about to fail," Marcus finished. "They'll have to respond." "Exactly." Her fingers flew over the controls. "But once I initiate this, we'll have less than 2 minutes before the backup systems identify the false alarm." Marcus positioned himself by the door. "Do it. I'll watch. For company." As Lyrian worked, Marcus felt a strange sense of belonging. Here he was, worlds away from Terra, risking his life for people not his own, alongside a woman who wasn't even his species. Yet it felt right, more right than anything had in years. "It's done," Lyrian announced. Emergency protocols activated. Almost immediately, alarms began to blare throughout the facility. They could hear shouts and the pounding of boots as enforcers changed direction, heading toward the perceived emergency. "Now we go," Marcus said, taking Lyrian's hand. They had almost reached the maintenance shaft when a voice called out behind them. "Stop right there." They turned to find a single enforcer, weapon raised. His eyes widened when he saw Marcus. "The human," he said with satisfaction. "Director Voss will be pleased." Marcus stepped forward, putting himself between the enforcer and Lyrian. "Take me in. Let her go." "Marcus, no." Lyrian protested. The enforcer laughed. "Noble but stupid. You're both coming with me." What happened next occurred so quickly that later Marcus would struggle to recall the exact sequence. Lyrian lunged forward, striking the enforcer with some kind of electrical device she'd concealed in her clothing. The enforcer convulsed, his weapon discharging into the ceiling before he collapsed. "Stunner," Lyrian explained, breathing hard. "Standard resistance equipment." Marcus stared at her in amazement. "Remind me never to make you angry." "Too late for that," she replied, grabbing his hand. "Now move." As they descended back into the tunnels, Marcus felt a surge of admiration for this fierce blue-skinned woman who had just saved his life. Their connection had transcended the physical. They were now bound by something deeper, forged in danger and mutual protection. "Your people," he said. As they hurried toward the evacuation point, "they follow you without question." "They follow what's right," she corrected him. "Just as you do." The secondary haven was smaller than the first, a series of interconnected caves beneath an abandoned mining facility on the outskirts of the city. As Marcus surveyed the cramped quarters and the gravity of their situation became clear. Children huddled together for warmth while adults distributed meager rations that wouldn't last more than a few days. "It's worse than I thought," Lyrian said quietly, joining him at the entrance to the main cavern. "The winter cycle is just beginning and our supplies won't last." "I might have a solution," Marcus finished, his jaw set with determination. He led her to a small alcove where they could speak privately. The proximity of her body to his in the narrow space rekindled memories of their night together. But he pushed those thoughts aside. There were more urgent matters. During my contract work, I helped install security systems at Voss's main storage facility, he explained. Warehouse 7 in the industrial district. It's where they're keeping the bulk of the food supplies. Lyrian's eyes widened. You want to raid a government warehouse? That's suicide. Not with inside knowledge, Marcus countered. I know the patrol schedules, the blind spots in the security grid, even the access codes, assuming they haven't changed them in the last month. And if they have, she grinned, then we improvise. It's what humans do best. Lyrian studied him for a long moment, her blue eyes searching his. Why are you doing this, Marcus? These aren't your people. This isn't your fight. The question caught him off guard. He'd been acting on instinct since the moment he'd first shared his rations with those children in the void. Maybe I'm tired of running, he said finally. On Terra, I was nobody, just another laborer drifting from job to job. Here, he hesitated. Here, I can make a difference. What he didn't say was how much Lyrian had come to mean to him in their short time together, how her fierce dedication to her people had awakened something in him he thought long dead. Her expression softened. The Calvarian philosophy teaches that souls find each other across the universe for a purpose. She placed a hand on his chest, directly over his heart. Perhaps yours found its way here for this very moment. The touch of her hand sent warmth spreading through him. Before he could respond, she leaned in and kissed him, not with the urgent passion of their first night, but with something deeper, more meaningful. When they parted, Marcus cleared his throat. We should, probably discuss the raid. A smile played at the corners of Lyrian's mouth. Yes, we should. They gathered a small team. Dane, despite his age, insisted on joining, along with 3 other resistance members with combat experience. As they reviewed Marcus's hand-drawn map of the warehouse, the plan took shape. The loading bay has a maintenance entrance here, Marcus indicated. It's used for emergency access, barely monitored. We can get in through there, disable the interior sensors, and load as much as we can carry onto the service cart. What about the guards? Asked Crix, a burly Calvarian with a scar across his face. 2 at the main entrance, 1 patrolling the perimeter, Marcus replied. If we time it right, we can avoid them entirely. Lyrian nodded. When do we move? Tonight, Marcus said firmly. The longer we wait, the more desperate our situation becomes. As the others dispersed to prepare, Lyrian pulled Marcus aside. There's something you should know before we do this. Her serious tone concerned him. What is it? In our culture, what we shared last night, it's not casual. She seemed to struggle with the words. The joining of bodies is considered a bond of spirits, especially with an off-worlder. Marcus felt a tightness in his chest. Are you saying you regret it? No, she said quickly. I'm saying that to my people, we are now connected in ways you might not understand. If we succeed tonight, they will look to you not just as an ally, but as my chosen partner, a leader. The weight of her words sank in. That's a lot of responsibility for a guy who just wanted to help some hungry kids. Lyrian's fingers intertwined with his. Is it too much? Marcus thought about the children in Mahaven, about the corrupt director hoarding resources while people starved, about this remarkable blue-skinned woman who had shown him what it meant to fight for something larger than himself. No, he said finally. It's not too much. As dusk fell, they made their final preparations. Marcus checked his makeshift weapons, a shock baton he'd modified from mining equipment, and a small pulse disruptor Dane had provided. Nervous? Lyrian asked, adjusting her own gear. Terrified, Marcus admitted with a wry smile. But in a good way. She tilted her head curiously. How can terror be good? It means I care about the outcome, about what happens to you, to all of you. Understanding dawned in her eyes. You humans have such strange ways of expressing yourselves. Yet you seem to like it, he teased. I'm developing a taste for it, she conceded, a playful glint in her eye. Among other human things. Their banter was interrupted by Dane's approach. It's time. As they moved through the tunnels toward the surface, Marcus felt a curious sense of rightness. For years he'd drifted through life without purpose. Now, leading this small band of aliens on a dangerous mission, he felt more alive than he had in decades. Lyrian moved beside him, her presence a reassuring constant. Whatever happened tonight would change everything for the Resistance, for Calvara, for them. The maintenance entrance yielded to Marcus's access code, much to his relief. The small team slipped inside Warehouse 7, their footsteps echoing in the cavernous space. Row upon row of storage containers stretched before them, filled with food supplies that could sustain the entire city for months. All this, Lyrian whispered, her voice tight with anger, while our people starve. Marcus squeezed her hand. Let's get what we came for. They moved efficiently, loading the hover cart with protein packs, thermal blankets, and medical supplies. Dane kept watch near the entrance while Crix and the others secured additional provisions. We should check the administrative office, Marcus suggested, pointing to a glass-walled room overlooking the warehouse floor. There might be inventory, lists, patrol schedules, information we can use for future raids. Lyrian nodded. I'll come with you. The office was surprisingly luxurious compared to the utilitarian warehouse plush seating, expensive artwork, and a large holographic display dominating one wall. Marcus went straight for the computer terminal, while Lyrian examined the documents scattered across the desk. Marcus, she called, her voice strange. Look at this. She held up a datapad displaying schematics of massive mining equipment alongside geological surveys of the planet. That's deep core extraction technology, Marcus said, frowning. The kind that renders planets uninhabitable. There's more. Lyrian activated a holographic contract that sprang to life between them. It's an agreement between Director Voss and something called Nebula Extraction Corporation. Marcus's blood ran cold as he scanned the document. He's selling the planet, the entire damn planet. What does it mean? It means Voss isn't just hoarding resources. He's preparing to evacuate his chosen few and leave everyone else behind when the mining operations begin. Marcus's hands clenched into fists. The food shortages, the increased security, it's all to weaken resistance before the corporation moves in. Lyrian's face had paled to a lighter shade of blue. My people, they'd be wiped out. Not if we stop it, Marcus said firmly. He downloaded the contract onto a portable drive and pocketed it. This is evidence. We can use it to turn the population against him. A sudden commotion from the warehouse floor interrupted them. Crix burst into the office, breathing hard. Enforcers, he gasped. A full squad. Someone tipped them off. Marcus and Lyrian exchanged alarmed glances before rushing to the window. Below, a dozen armed enforcers were spreading out through the warehouse. Dane and the others had taken cover behind storage containers, but they were outgunned and surrounded. We need a distraction, Marcus muttered, scanning the room for options. His eyes landed on the environmental controls. The fire suppression system. With a few quick commands, he triggered the emergency protocols. Alarms blared as foam began spraying from ceiling nozzles, creating instant chaos on the warehouse floor. Go, Marcus shouted, leading Lyrian and Crix back down to the main level. They reunited with the rest of their team amidst the confusion, making their way toward the exit with the loaded hover cart. They had almost reached the maintenance door when a voice called out. Stop right there, human. Marcus turned to find himself face to face with a tall, elegantly dressed Calvarian male, flanked by 4 enforcers. Unlike the others, his uniform bore the insignia of high rank. "Commander Drex," Lyrian hissed. "The director's right hand," Crix added under his breath. "Voss's enforcer." Drex smiled coldly. "Did you really think we wouldn't notice a human and his blue-skinned accomplice stealing from us?" Marcus felt Lyrian tense beside him at the slur. He stepped forward, positioning himself between her and the commander. "We're not stealing. We're redistributing what rightfully belongs to these people." Drex laughed. "These resources belong to those who earn them, the strong, the worthy." His gaze shifted to the datapad in Marcus's hand. "I see you've been snooping where you shouldn't. Discovered our little arrangement with Nebula, have you? You're planning to evacuate the elites and abandon everyone else when the mining begins," Marcus accused. "Your own people. The weak are always left behind," Drex replied with a shrug. "It's the natural order. Even on your primitive Terra, isn't that how it works? The powerful prosper while the masses struggle." "No," Marcus said firmly. "That's not what humanity stands for." "Really?" Drex raised an eyebrow. "Then why is your own kind helping us? Who do you think introduced us to Nebula in the first place?" The revelation hit Marcus like a physical blow. Humans, his own species, were complicit in this exploitation. "You're lying," he growled. "Am I? Ask your employers at Stellatech Mining why they sent you here. Did you think it was coincidence that a human laborer with security expertise was contracted just as we began preparations?" Marcus felt sick. Had he unknowingly played a part in this scheme? Drex gestured to his enforcers. "Take them. The human goes to interrogation. The rest can join the labor camps." As the enforcers moved forward, Marcus caught Lyrian's eye. A silent understanding passed between them. In one fluid motion, she activated the stunner concealed in her sleeve, while Marcus lunged for the nearest enforcer, disarming him and using his body as a shield. Chaos erupted as the resistance. Fighters fought back with surprising effectiveness. Marcus moved with practiced efficiency, his body remembering combat training he tried to forget. "The exit," he shouted, covering their retreat as Dane and Crix pushed the hovercart through the maintenance door. Lyrian was the last to go through, pausing to look back at Marcus. "Together," she insisted, extending her hand as their fingers intertwined. Marcus felt a surge of determination. Whatever his past, whatever role humans might be playing in this exploitation, he knew where he stood now with her, with these people who had nothing yet shared everything. They escaped into the night, evidence of betrayal in hand and a new understanding of the forces aligned against them. Back at the Haven, Marcus paced the small chamber he shared with Lyrian, the datapad containing the Nebula contract clutched in his hand. The revelation that his own species was involved in Voss's scheme had shaken him deeply. "I need to contact someone at Stellatech," he said finally. "There has to be someone there who doesn't know what's happening, or someone who does and might help us." Lyrian looked up from where she was examining the stolen supplies. "Is that wise? If they're working with Voss, not everyone can be involved," Marcus insisted. "Stellatech is a massive corporation with thousands of employees. There's a good chance most of them have no idea what their leadership is planning." She approached him, placing a cool blue hand on his arm. "And if you're wrong?" He covered her hand with his. "Then we're no worse off than we are now." After a moment, she nodded. "How will you contact them?" "My old supervisor, Dr. Elena Cross. She recruited me for this job, but she's a scientist, not a corporate shark. She has a direct channel for field operatives." While Dane and Crix distributed the stolen supplies among the refugees, Marcus set up the communication equipment they'd salvaged from the first haven. The secure channel took several attempts to establish, but finally, a familiar face appeared on the small screen. Marcus? Dr. Cross looked surprised. Where have you been? The company filed you as a WOL 3 weeks ago. I've been busy learning the truth about Stellatech's operations on Calvara. He replied coldly. Dr. Cross's expression shifted subtly. What do you mean? Marcus held up the datapad. Nebula extraction. Deep core mining. Ring any bells? The color drained from her face. Where did you get that? Does it matter? What matters is that Stellatech is helping Director Voss sell out an entire planet and condemn its population to death. It's not what you think, Dr. Cross said quickly, lowering her voice. The board is split on this. Half of them don't even know the full extent of what's happening. Explain, Marcus demanded. The Nebula contract was negotiated by our CFO, Harrison Beck. He and a few board members stand to make billions. The rest of us double quouts. She glanced over her shoulder nervously. Some of us have been gathering evidence, trying to stop it. Hope flickered in Marcus's chest. You're against the deal? Of course I am. It violates every ethical standard we claim to uphold. Her eyes narrowed. You said condemn its population. What exactly do you know? I know Voss is planning to evacuate only the elite while leaving everyone else to die when the mining begins. Dr. Cross looked genuinely horrified. That wasn't in any of the documents we've seen. This changes everything. She typed rapidly on her console. I'm sending you encryption codes for our secure server. Upload everything you have. It could be the tipping point we need to convince the full board to shut this down. As Marcus worked on the upload, Lyrian entered with Dane. We've been discussing your other idea, she said. About broadcasting the evidence to the city. Dane nodded. The Resistance has access to the emergency broadcast system. It was designed to reach every home and public space in case of natural disasters. If we time it right, Lyrian continued, we could reach the entire population at once. Show them what Voss is planning. Marcus looked between them and the screen where Dr. Cross was still visible. We need to coordinate. If Stellatech publicly withdraws support at the same time, the citizens learn the truth. Voss would be isolated. Dr. Cross finished. I can get you that commitment within 48 hours. After finalizing plans with Dr. Cross, Marcus turned to find Lyrian watching him with an unreadable expression. What? He asked. You continue to surprise me, she said softly. Most beings would have run from this fight. Yet here you are, rallying your own kind against injustice that doesn't even directly affect you. Marcus moved closer to her. It affects you. That makes it my fight too. The intensity in her eyes made his heart race. Without warning, she pulled him into a kiss that left him breathless. In my culture, she whispered against his lips, a male who fights for his chosen female's people is considered bound to her in the deepest way possible. Is that so? He murmured, his hands finding their way to her waist. It is also customary, she continued, her fingers tracing patterns on his chest, for such a bond to be reaffirmed before battle. Marcus raised an eyebrow. Reaffirmed? Her smile was both innocent and seductive. Our bodies remember what our minds might forget in the chaos of conflict. That, Marcus said, pulling her closer, is one alien custom I can definitely appreciate. Later, as they lay tangled together on their sleeping mat, Marcus marveled at how natural it felt to be with her, despite their physical differences. Her skin against his cooler to the touch, but warming wherever they connected created sensations unlike anything he'd experienced with human partners. What are you thinking? Lyrian asked, tracing the line of his jaw. That some things transcend Species, he replied honestly. She smiled. The children have been asking about you. They call you the nourishment giver now. The mention of the children brought Marcus back to reality, to why they were fighting in the first place. Tomorrow we broadcast the truth. The day after, we take back this city. And if we succeed? Lyrian propped herself up on one elbow. What then, Marcus Kane? Will you return to your people? The question caught him off guard. He hadn't thought beyond the immediate crisis. My people are here now, he said finally, realizing the truth of it as he spoke. If you'll have me. Her eyes glistened with emotion. Our traditions say that when an off-worlder chooses to stay, they must be formally accepted by a council of elders. But in times of crisis... She paused, a smile playing at her lips. In times of crisis, the people may choose their own leader. Marcus laughed softly. I'm no leader. Tell that to the children who look at you with hope in their eyes, she countered. Tell that to Dane and Crix who follow your plans without question. Her expression grew serious. Tell that to me, who has seen what you're capable of.